Hello, everybody. So we are live.
Hey.
All right.
My name is Pam. We're going to go by Pam today.
All
And
right.
I have with me my great friend, Sir Kurtrail. They'll be getting tired of us mispronouncing his name. And then I have with us an amazing counselor, Dula.
Yes.
We came today. We're going to discuss mental health in the Black community on the heels of Tamar, Nick, and Kanye, all within about a week or so of each other, and the comments that I know I saw being made. I want us to delve into this, and hopefully as a community next time, we'll handle this a little better. So I'm going to start. I'm going to let my amazing guests introduce themselves, and they are also business owners. So as you know, I allow all business owners an opportunity to share their business because what we want to do is help each other buy Black. So I'm going to start with Kurtrail.
I am Kurtrail Russell. I'm the owner of.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Nope.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
All right.
I can hear Kurtrail.
I can't hear you either.
Huh.
Oh.
Lord,
Yeah. Because I can hear the Kurtrail.
I can hear you too.
Yes. We can hear each other.
Okay, so me a move for everybody.
That was me.
Oh,
Totally me.
you hear us now?
I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Kurtrail.
All right. Can you hear me now? We good?
We're live.
My name is Kurtrail Russell. I'm the owner of Peculiar Custom T-shirts and apparel. I also am a gospel music artist. I'm a worship leader throughout everywhere, pretty much. I've sung pretty much anywhere that I'm called to actually minister at. So. And I'm also a part owner of Churchy Box, which is a new business that actually we launched last week.
Oh,
Last
wow.
week. All right. And I saw the ads for Churchy Box. I'm interested. Let me get past my move in DC. And I'm coming for Churchy Box.
All right.
Churchy Box.
That's right.
All right. So, Miss Dula.
Yes. Thank you for having me on here, by the way. I appreciate being a part of a table, just sharing about an issue that we all know about, we all probably have experienced, and we all need to support one another in as well. So I'm excited about this conversation. But a little about me, I am Jula Prevalon. I was born in Haiti, raised in New Jersey. I've been living in the Dallas, Texas area for about 16 years now. I am a social entrepreneur, and that simply means I see social issues and I love finding ways to resolve them by the grace of God. And so I started the nonprofit Elevate Her, which focuses on trauma training for women all over the world. Mm-hmm. We've been in Haiti, in Uganda, in Congo, in Kenya, and Brazil to do the work of trauma healing for women. And I also have the for-profit business called Elevate Life Coaching and Counseling and Consulting. And that is, the work I do in private practice where I do counseling and coaching for women. And I offer support in the area of women finding their purpose. So that's a little bit of what I do. And I'm also a pastor. I'm an ordained minister through the Evangelical Covenant Church, and worked in many churches, and was missions pastor, and which is one of the reasons I do a lot of work internationally. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
All right. So if anybody else is having issues connecting via Facebook, please let me know. So now let's go ahead and discuss why. Well, first of all, again, I want to thank you too. What happened is, like I said, I saw what happened with Nick, Tamar, and Kanye and the insensitive comments that were made. When you have been diagnosed with a genuine mental, and I hate the word, but disorder or a difference. Things like the weather in Texas is bipolar. And so the comments I saw, the lack of sensitivity, for me, it is a chemical thing for me, and it was hard to admit. I saw a lot of the experiences that they have had, I have had as somebody that has been diagnosed with depression. I will most likely be on medication for it the rest of my life. I was having an episode, and there was no reason. We weren't hurting for money. Everything was going okay, but I cried for like 3 to 5 days straight. No reason, hiding my tears from my son, picking him up from school, dropping him off. And I'm laying in the bed crying, and a dignitary from the City Council of Dallas is calling me to work on his project. There was no reason I should have been sad. And even when the doctor said it, I don't like to take medication. And so he said, well, we're going to put you on a pill for this. I was like, no. And we'll work it out. And that's usually how we do it. But that day he pushed back. He was like, no, you need this. And so I had to take it. And then I have to admit that I have this, because I'm the pastor's daughter. And then my father was a well-to-do businessman growing up. So telling people what was going on with me was something I never really did, because they would use the information to hurt my family. So I really had no one to talk to, but to have to admit this, that I couldn't handle it. And my counselor, she said, call somebody in your family. And I called somebody in my family, and they didn't even handle it well. I felt worse when I got off the phone with them. I told someone at the church, that went bad. I felt worse and regretted ever saying anything. I told my sorority line sisters, and that went well. That was where I found comfort and safety. You don't want to, for specifically me, I don't want to admit that I need help. Years ago, Donnie McClurkin wrote the book, Eternal Victim, Eternal Victor. And he said that, and which was true, and that was when I thought it was okay to ask for help, because he said, you got the song, as long as I've got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. He said, that's not true. We are communal beings, and we need other people. But when people will look at you differently, at my last church, I did go for counseling, anger management, because I almost got in a little trouble. Somebody made me mad, and I was gonna throw something. And really, and what's so bad, it was at a fast food joint. They made me mad, and I did. I whipped it back in the window. My name is on my license plate. Big mistake. I shouldn't have did that. But I started seeking counseling. And so when I drove through the parking lot, they had security on the parking lot. And I told him I was there for counseling. Security started trying to flirt with me. That's not what I was there for. But because I spurned his advances, every time I came back through, he would say, oh, you're here for counseling. Like, you're crazy. Because I didn't want to talk to him. Eventually, I had to tell the head of security what he was doing, because he was really hurting and upsetting me, and they removed him. But that is the level of support many times we get in our own community. And I ain't even gonna get started on the church hurt. They said ain't no hurt like the church hurt.
Oh,
They meant that thing.
Yeah.
Didn't they, Trail?
It's a different type of hurt.
So that was what led me to say something, because you're making all these comments and we don't know that I'm who you're talking about.
Right.
And it hurts.
Right.
And I'm already embarrassed and ashamed. And my own community should be my safe haven. And it isn't. So that was what led me to put together this presentation. And I definitely am very grateful, Trail, because I know if it's hard for me, it's got to be even harder for a Black man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like you say, the support for as what you are going through. It's kind of hard to really like find somebody that you can confide in. And everybody doesn't understand like exactly like this is what I'm feeling and this is how I'm hurting, and this issue, you know, practically is wearing me down. And then it's harder for me as a Black man to understand that this is a mental issue. This is a mental problem. Like you probably need to seek, you know, additional assistance outside of your circle of friends, outside of your family. Because I have friends and family that are always ready to fight. So, and something is really, really bothering me. They're like, so what we need to do? Do we need to go and fight? Do we need to go? You want me to run them over? Like, I have those type of friends that triggered that type of mentality. And so I'm always like, okay, let me find a balance. Let me seclude myself for a while from whatever my issue directly is. And it gets difficult at times, like directly understand that you have a mental imbalance, as we talked about recently, that you have a mental imbalance that you directly need to address. Like, and in our community, talking about mental issues it's even hard to get a Black man to go to the doctor. So you can kind of understand how going to a counselor is not going to it's harder to even get them to do that portion or to talk to somebody, like, tell me what's wrong. Because we always go to the defense. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Because we feel like we can always solve our own problems. So absolutely.
Yeah. I think, you know, as we're talking about what the issue is, we also need to look at the why. Why is it hard for Black men to talk about mental health issues? Why is it hard for our communities, you know, to normalize the conversation about that there's mental health problems happening in our communities? And we need to really investigate the whys so that we can dismantle the whys in order for our communities to find help, right? And the whys have a lot to do with what the two of you have already shared. You know, you have the church being a part of the issue. I think our theology on humans, our theology on how we look at people and human beings have something to do with it. You know, we look at people as, you know, if they're not fully whole, if they're not fully healed, if they're not fully, you know, this full person, then they get to be outcasted. They get to be in a different community. They get to be in a different box, right? We don't have a theology that embraces people that are hurting, people that are different. I mean, we don't have a theology that embraces the disabled community, you know, people who, the elderly community. What do we do with the elderly? You know, in my country, you know, where I'm from in Haiti, the elderly live in the home with their families, right? You know, the disabled, same thing. We don't have a special house to send people who are dealing with those things. And not to say Haiti doesn't have its own mental health issues. I'm just giving examples of how our theology about human beings cause us to not even address mental health issues, right? Because we have a way at looking at people as people who are out there when they're hurting, when there's something different happening, that the community embraces them and bring them closer, and the community deal with them within in that community. So we need to talk about that. We need to talk about when humans are different, when humans are other, when humans are dealing with something that doesn't look 100% whole. What do we do with them? You know, and I think that is part of what's undergirding this issue of us not being able to get the mental health care that is needed, because I see men in counseling. I see more women in counseling than I see men, and that has something to do with patriarchy. You know, men are seen as these,
What do
you
we do
know,
with them? You know, I think that
yeah, hunt men, and they have to go out and, you know, and support and hunt, and, you know, be the breadwinners, and all these strong, you know, adjectives we have for men, these strong patriarchal, you know, um theories we have for men, that makes it hard for them to be weak. When
Right.
you're asking them to be strong all the time, it makes it hard for them to be weak. And again, that theology, mixed in with patriarchy, mixed in with racism, because, you know, in our community, for 400 years of all kinds of stuff has happened here in America. And I don't know, there hasn't been a concerted effort on the government level, on the national level, you know, to promote, you know, mental health care, to normalize mental health care. That, hey, everybody, something's happened to your generation, in all of these generations in 400 years, and it's time for us to. There hasn't been that concerted movement for
Right.
mental health care. So we need to really look at the core of the issue, as we look at the as we look at solving the issue of why it's hard for our community to find help, right? So all of that theology, bad theology, you know, the church, sexism, racism, patriarchy, all of it has to do with what we're dealing with in our community, and not receiving the help that we need.
And I'm going to piggyback on that, and then you see we've got a question. There was an elder that I posted on his page. If you have depression, that you just don't have enough faith.
Yeah.
That is literally
All
what he
of that.
posted. And by the time I got through going off, I got blocked. But that's okay. What you are not going to do is victim blame. And again, you're
Right.
talking about me.
Right.
And mine is a genuine chemical imbalance. So we're going to look. Stacy Johnson has a question. How can you help someone who won't admit they need help? My sister has all the signs of paranoia and will not seek help because she thinks we're all conspiring against her. On the contrary.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
That doesn't know they need help. And that would tie into Kanye when he has the bipolar episodes. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Right. Yeah, that's a hard one. It's really hard. And this is why you see the homeless community, because you have a lot of people with mental health needs, and they refuse to get the help because the situation has gotten to a point where, you know, they've exhausted the family, they've exhausted the community, and so they go off on their own, living on the street. So you do have that in the homeless community. I would say, you know, if the person is of danger to themselves and others, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to find ways to either commit, either by calling the hospitals, and making sure that they receive the help to that they need if they are of danger to themselves and others. That's always like the biggest boundary. You know, if someone is, you know, suicidal or homicidal, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to make sure that they get the help they need, and you have to take it seriously, because you never know what that person will do. If they are not suicidal or homicidal, I would say for someone in the community to be an ally, you know, someone to play good cop. And yes, you will have the bad cops, but somebody has to be an ally to this person. Not everybody, you know, can be the bad cop in this family. So someone to be an ally that they respect, that they trust, that they love, that they care about, that they will listen to, that they and over time, that person can be the one to or that person or many people can be the one to help support them get the help that they need. But not everyone listens, and that's the hard thing about mental health issues. Not every person with a mental health imbalance will receive the help that's offered to them. So it's really hard for families, because I have seen families and I have walked with families who have people in their families with mental health imbalances, and they will not get the help that they need. So it's very difficult, and I empathize with the person that asked the question. I hear the pain, and just hopefully this person, your sister, will respond to somebody in the family.
I like that. I didn't know that was the solution. We create an allyship, somebody that can empathize and hopefully gain the trust, and then hopefully promote a change.
Yeah.
So that would be the process. Okay.
No, that's definitely
Good. That is good. And Stacy has come back and said she lives in Texas, sisters in Florida. It's escalated. Oh, and her husband, it's hard on her husband who's trying to be there for her.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, how mental imbalances impact your
The
marriage.
family. Yep. And it does. It really impacts the whole family, the children, the marriage, everyone's impacted.
I'm thinking, I want to go to church hurt. That's what I want to talk about, because we as a community, a stalwart in our community is the church.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the issues that you have listed, specifically patriarchy, dismissiveness when it comes to mental issues. Oh, I can pray about that thing. It stems from the church. And then there's another side to that thing as well. Years ago, I was in an organization. There was a church-like organization, and one of the male members got me off by myself and did some things. He approached me incorrectly, and he didn't physically, but he violated me. And it wasn't physical, but the things he did, things he showed, very inappropriate. And I ended up leaving. To say my adoptive mom was the only one I ever told what happened. And to this day, I'm a little skittish around men in the church behind this. How do we ensure people that experience the church hurt that traumatizes them are still able to get past that and even see God?
So
character trial. Take that one. Take that one.
I could jump in on this one.
Jump in on that one.
One of my favorite songs that I've been, and ironically, throughout the pandemic, I've been telling a lot of people to stop singing it, because I've been watching people's response to the actual pandemic. It's He's Able, and in the song it says, "Don't give up on God, because He won't give up on you." The essence of going to church for me is we are the church. And so since I am the church and the body hurts me in a way, I always tell people that it's just like, I look at church like a job, which I probably shouldn't, but like a job. If I don't like this, if something at this job get on my nerves, then I can go find another job. And it's kind of the same way I do with church. But I've been hurt. I've been a member of maybe about 3 to 4 churches in my entire life. And I grew up in one church. I went to college. I joined another church where I was playing organ and everything. And then I reunited with another church when I moved to Dallas, and I've experienced different levels of church hurt. I'm a singer, I'm a worship leader, I'm a director. Um, most and the things that I've kind of experienced is being rejected from positions and worship leader positions and being able to be on staff for these positions and things. And it got to a point, and I'll be honest, it got to a point where I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at the church, and I was completely to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't want to talk to nobody. And if anybody knows me, for me to miss church, that's a big thing for me. Like I hate missing church unless I'm out of town. If I'm out of town and I have to miss church, that's different. But most of the time, if I'm out of town, I've already figured out what church I'm going to go to in that city because I've been on YouTube or I've been looking at different pastors and stuff. All right, they started 10:15. I'm going to be at church. And that's usually how it works for me. But in this last little bout that I had with church hurt, I got rejected for one position twice. And then other positions, a position was created that had my name, something I'm overly qualified directly to do. Position was created and somebody else came in from the outside directly and got the position. And 3 people were completely overlooked for the position. In essence, here I am just sitting there. Okay, what am I supposed to do? I've been doing this position for years. I've been fully in this capacity, serving and everything. I had to get to a point where I said, okay, it's not God. It's the issue is the church. So let me pull back from the whole thing. And I had to get to the point where I'm realizing this is a mental imbalance. Like I'm okay with if I go off on somebody in church during service, I'm okay going off on somebody. I'm okay with fighting. I'm okay with whatever the altercation may happen. I'm cool with that. Like, and I realize your feelings are in it. Everything about this is all wrapped around this one little situation. So you need to pull yourself back from it. And these things that are hurting you, you just got to say no to it. And I got to a point where me being in like choir and all this additional stuff, no, I don't have to drive out here. Matter of fact, I'm saving on gas. I started looking at the positive things of it because I'm living 40 minutes away from this church, 40, 50 minutes, depending on if it's traffic, an hour and 30 minutes because I lived in North Dallas driving to Oak Cliff. So it was like, I got to get to a point where I make the conscious decision to say that me personally, this is really draining me. This is really taking me down. This is really, I can't do this. So I went down to from like doing 4 or 5 things to like doing maybe 1. And I was okay with it. Just for my mental health. And it started affecting me, like my friendships. It started affecting my job. And I was like, you know what? I don't want that. I don't want none of this. So I'm going to, when I released it, I feel 10 times better. This has been like within 2 years or so. I feel 10 times better. I've been able to, I still get booked because I'm a gospel artist. My schedule, of course, with the pandemic, it went down, but my schedule was still picking up. And I wasn't even grateful for those. Like, I'm like, it's just another event. It's just another opportunity. But why am I doing it? Because I didn't get that. So why am I worried about this? That's just how, when I got to that point, I was like, you know what? I'm not even seeing God at this point. So God, let me talk to you for a second. Let me revert back to God. Let's talk to God. And once I got to that point, that helped me. Me being secluding myself from my issue helped me to get back to my mental health and Star Crunch, Little Debbie's and stuff.
Oh God!
I was eating them by the boxes within a day. So that helped me. If I gained weight, I did. I gained a little bit of weight from Star Crunch.
Yes. For me, I like ice cream. But yeah, I'm a part of that cancel culture. If you hurting me, you got to go. And you know the old school folks don't get that. You supposed to stay there and let folks hurt you.
Right.
I'm out.
I can't.
You got one time to show me you gonna hurt me. I'm out.
Yeah, as a therapist, I can't co-sign staying. You know, when you have a chance to leave, when you can leave. You know, I work all around the world, and I've seen women stay in situations for a number of reasons, finances and different things like that. But when you can leave and it's hurting you, and you've tried to work it out, and you can leave, I say, you know, save yourself.
Yeah.
Save yourself. Yeah.
And I agree. So that I understand you pulling back. You can't keep giving your all to something that you feel is not giving you a return on your investment. Right. And I understand that. Like I said, I have experienced the church hurt. They hurt me. They came at my child.
Oh, that's right there. See? I would have been a friend that was like that. We going to fight? What we going to do? See, I jumped on that.
I mean, it tore the church up. Now, this is my oldest child, so this was a number of years ago, and there was a division in the church. Those that supported me, those that support, and what it was is people were just jealous, and I guess wanted to get at my child or me because my child was 2 or 3 singing on the praise team, and so other folks said that he threw them off. They didn't want to sing with him. Well, if you could sing in the first place, should nobody be able to throw you off? Am I not right, Katrina? Right. I mean, can you sing? If somebody was off key, can you still sing?
I can, because I tuned them out. Everybody in the choir can't sing. Like,
and I know that. And so whatever. But they did. They kicked my child out of and told the church up. And to this day, me and that pastor, we don't really set horses, and I'm okay with that. You know, and I did go to work for the church. And when I saw I'm getting paid with the janitor getting paid, but I'm doing a whole lot more when I asked for more money, they let a sister go. Okay. And so, but now church hurt, that was one that took a sister through. I had to go and get over it because my child caught me crying one day and he started crying. And I was like, you got to get it together. But since then, I ain't been really hurt by the church because, you know, I tell folks where to go and how to get there today.
And then, like, I've learned how to still keep the no. And I don't even get attached to certain, like, no, I don't even want to do that. I'm good. And I limit my connections directly. If I don't feel it, I'm good. I'm okay.
Right. And I think we need to really, and I think you said this, Kurtrell, with separating God and the building. We have to be able to separate God and the building.
Right.
Because there are people who connect God and the building, and church hurt becomes God hurt. And if we are unable to separate God and the building, that will happen. But when we can separate God from the building and the building hurt us, we can leave the building and still take God.
Because it's
and we can still take God.
One corner.
And still take God. And we have to, you know, set our expectations rightly about the church, you know, because the church is not going to solve everything. You know, it's not going to solve all of our loneliness, all of our mental health issues, all of our community issues. It's not going to do those things for us. And so if we're going into the church expecting these things, we will be sorely disappointed, right? And so I think it's really important to differentiate between those tenets with the church. You know, God, building, expectations. What do I get from the church, and what can I expect from the church? That, in a way, creating those boundaries help preserve your relationship with God and your relationship with other people too, because then you won't be asking people to do for you what you know they can't, you know, because you're like, yeah, I have my boundaries set right, and you don't seem safe. I know you're in the church building, but you saying some things that, you know, don't sound right with me. So I'm going to create a boundary here for yourself and for myself, for my sake and for your sake, you know? And I think that's necessary even in the church, maybe especially in the church, because we're expecting people to do better in the church, to know better in the church, but that's not the reality. Church people don't always know better and they don't always do better.
Right. Because we're all
So we
learning.
have to create exactly.
So you have to, like you, I like that you say set your expectations of what
Hmm.
you're expecting. And I think that we put church on such a high level and we put the people in the
Yep.
church on such a higher level that
Hmm.
even, like they're right there with God, which is not always the case.
Hmm.
Even the pastor
Exactly.
altars. And I think people miss that whole thing that your pastor's not even perfect. So
Mm-mm.
he's direct. He may be closer to God. He may spend a little bit more time with God. And truth be told, he might spend the same amount of time as the mother sitting in the back row. But
Right.
at the same time, we put that expectation up so high for the church, and we don't
Hmm.
really like give that, anything from there. So yeah, absolutely. I love that. Set the
Yep.
expectation.
Yep.
I agree with
Yep.
that absolutely too. Um, and with the church, this is why I say I know that I'm not designed probably to work at anybody's church. Um, because I'm going to tell you, working in corporate America, being a Black woman, and corporate American trauma is a trauma too.
That's another level.
That's a trauma in itself that will send you to a counselor as well. But as corporate American, as executive, a Black woman in corporate America, things, I'm not allowed to not respond to an email. It will come up and be used against me. I'm not allowed to not return calls. I'm not allowed to have any kind of tone. And so when I see what goes on in a lot of administrations in the church, you are supposed to be an ambassador for Christ, a representative of the excellence of God. And we do all of this. And I'm not talking about any church. I've experienced it with most of the churches I've attended, all of them. And so, but yes, they are people that are going to fail us. They have a bad day. Some days, and I have to say this, working in social justice here in Dallas for the past few years, I don't know how somebody, and I hold him out as a wonderful example, like our pastor. I don't, if I got upset and cussed, my line sisters would hold a conference call to figure out, because if Pam cusses, it's really something wrong.
Is it?
Mm.
Today, they don't say nothing now. It flies. And I know that seeing the things that I see in these streets, it has changed me and my mentality and my tolerance and the ability to control my passion at times.
Yeah.
I worry about people that have been out here this long and you still have other things to do. Because for me, like I said, I bear a lot of mine alone. I don't really don't have anyone to talk to. I mean, I'm sure folks would talk to me, but I don't have that level of relationship with them. So I would rather not. And then another thing I've recently noticed, and again, I can relate to Kanye on this one. When the depression starts, let's say I go a few days without the medication, I didn't realize this, but subliminally, I will, when I have the bouts, thoughts of taking my own life pop up. It's not that serious, but I will wake myself out of my sleep because I've had those types of thoughts. So, because back in February, I had a car accident and it was horrible. The girl got away with it because there were no witnesses. She hit the rear end of my truck. obvious it's her fault, but you know, her insurance company played, and that sent me into a tailspin financially because I had to rent a car while the insurance companies worked it out, and it just sent me into a tailspin, and I stopped taking my medication. And again, I woke up one night because I was floating in my kitchen, knowing that my house was empty and I was gone and somebody else had my son. That's just how far that went.
Yep.
So now when the episodes happen, I just figured out last week, I purposely stopped all of my medication. I don't realize that I've done it. It doesn't occur to me that I have skipped my insulin, which I'm dependent on, for 3 to 5 days. I can't explain it, but I purposely will not take my medication in an attempt to do the thoughts that I'm having. And I'm gonna tell you what really pointed it out to me one time is my child caught it. He started hounding me every night. Did you take your medication? Did you take your shot? Did you take your shot? He caught it.
Mm.
So I understand when, you know, Kanye goes off, he's not taking his medications.
Yeah.
It's just something that happens. And of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
I pull it together and get back on it. But that is the depth of where this thing takes me.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to admit this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Pam. I know your vulnerability, or I pray that your vulnerability touch the people in our communities and those that are struggling as well, because no people don't talk openly about what happens during an episode. They don't really talk openly about the process of, you know, skipping a med and getting into that spiral, you know, because it is a spiral that happens, you know, it happens so you know, so faintly, you know, like with one thought, with one missed dosage, with one this, and then the spiral takes on. And so people don't talk about that spiral openly. And for you to be so bold and courageous and to talk about it and expose it, really, to let our community knows that this happens, you guys, wake up. And this is real, you know, it's not only happening to Kanye out there for us to laugh about and for us to make him the butt of every joke, right? But it's happening in your own families, you know, with people. And I think what happens in our families, though, we have those we have loyalty to our families, loyalty in a sense of, you know, you don't talk about what happens in the family. Whatever happens in the family stays in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be the aunt and uncle that's a little off, you know, like they're doing all kinds of stuff at the family barbecue, and we just all laugh it off. You know, that's how aunt this is. That's how aunt uncle so and so is. No, aunt and uncle, they have a mental health imbalance and they need help. And that's what it looks like when they either get off of their meds or they're not seeking the help that they need. So I really appreciate this conversation and how you're giving words to what we have seen either in our own families or other people's families, but we don't talk about because of family loyalty and family secrecy. So this is very needed and it's very important. So I commend you for that.
Yes, because I sure am thinking, boy, this is recorded forever on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, I give you permission to do with it whatever you want. As a therapist, nothing is binding, okay? So
No, because
I
like
give
you said,
permission, Pam.
you know, when I think about what I put on social media, I was like, if my child runs for president, could this ever be used against him? I would
Mhm.
rather don't tell the truth and help somebody, because the reality of it is, I'm not erratic in behavior or anything like that. I just go
Right.
downhill and no one ever knows it because I keep it to myself.
Mhm.
Um, I would rather tell the truth about my experience. Because people, I'm going to tell you, I'm so straight laced that, you know, my parents, when they gave me birthday money, they would be like, and don't go pay a bill with it. Cause I was that straight laced. They were like, go do something for yourself. And, you know, even my dad, you know, last time I talked to him, I'm so glad you're on my team. You know what, that he liked me that day. You know, are saying things, you know, Pam, you're a woman about the business, things of that nature. It's hard when, you know, people have expectations of you. And I'm the daughter that always did things right for the most part. The one they don't have to worry about. The one that takes care of my kids by myself. They, you know, if they gave to my child, it's because they chose to. I didn't ask. Most of the time, maybe they can count the times I ever asked for anything on their hands. They had people that weren't related to them that asked them for money and stuff more than I ever did. And to have to admit that I have what is perceived as a flaw or an imbalance to this magnitude, it's hurtful. And again, like I said, I was raised in a situation where I've learned not to trust people, which I think, you know, I can relate to Tamara on that, being the pastor's daughter, because she is. And you don't know who you can trust. You're feeling bad and you really have no one to talk to. And like I said, I bear a lot alone. So with that being said, there are no more questions. Did y'all have anything else y'all wanted to share?
Well, I think just on what you just shared about being alone and not having anyone to share with, I think that's probably one of the top two things I see in counseling, is that people are either feeling lonely, alone, isolated, and they don't have a community of people for support. I would say be very intentional about building community that celebrates you, not just tolerates you, but celebrates you. You know, we were created for relationships, for community, but I think healthy community is what we need to go for, not just any kind of community, but community is so vital to our existence, to our healing, to the who that we are. And so if anyone is struggling in that area, I would say, you know, just continue to pay attention, to cultivate it, to be intentional about the types of people that you draw into your life, you bring into your life, because you need community in order to heal. Not just any kind of community, but healthy community. Yeah.
Right.
And I think too, when we say the Black community should work to be a healthy community as a whole, and an understanding community. I shouldn't have to be embarrassed.
Yep.
To share. I shouldn't have to have endured the things, you know, like with the security guard, you know, harassing me and trying to come at me over it because I didn't want him. You know, Kertrell should be able to go talk to somebody as a Black man and they not basically judge him or have expectations of him. We should be allowed to fall. We should be allowed to openly seek help. Because I remember growing up, there was a lady in my church and she had to tell everybody she was suffering from depression. And she talked about how she didn't want to tell nobody and blah, blah, blah. And at that time, I didn't understand. But now I do, because our community can be brutal. When I was coming up, and I know when I would go visit folks in Arkansas, if somebody had a mental difference and they received SSI because of it, they said it was a crazy check. They get a crazy check.
Yep. The language we use.
and so forth. And like I said, the comments that I saw with what was going on, and there were even debates on my page and things of that nature. Stop
Unnecessary. Unnecessary.
Uncalled for. And it just it's because a lot of people are unlearned.
Yep.
And don't realize what you're saying is hurtful.
That's right.
Yep.
So Trail, you got anything else you want to add?
I think this is really good.
I enjoyed this.
I love being in positions where I can help somebody else. So.
Yeah, because it definitely it's therapy for me. But
well, you guys are a joy. Pam, you are a joy.
Dula, thank you so much. And let me share, Dula and I have never met. I said I need a licensed practitioner to come and do this. I want somebody that gives answers that are correct, not what we think or not how we should pray, but I want genuine answers. And then people that understand and that, I believe in God.
Yeah.
I pray. I have faith. I also have to take a pill.
Yeah.
That's what that is. It's nothing about my faith. It's nothing I've done. It's just a difference in my body.
That's right.
Like with the diabetes, my pancreas doesn't work well.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I be eating stuff, not the Star Crunch, but Little Debbie is my friend. And so
I love it.
Creates a few issues for me every now and again. But I shouldn't be looked at as any less or any differently than anyone else. And that's all I guess I really want us as a community to do. If somebody has a mental difference, don't make them feel bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Watch your terminology. I no longer say the weather is bipolar because that's an insult. I had to learn that. And then another thing, when it comes to people learning, we have to give them room to learn, give them room to grow. A lot of us have not had knowledgeable experience with mental health, and we have to learn certain things. You don't need to say to me. Like if I'm mad, don't tell me to calm down. Because never in the history of calming down is telling someone to calm down worked and made them calm down. That don't work.
Because I'll say no.
Okay. Yes. And I think also for people who want to learn more about mental health differences or mental imbalances, they can go on NAMI. It's National Association for Mental Illnesses, and they have all kinds of groups, support groups for families who are going through it, support group to teach people, to teach communities. It's all about education, because I think one of the reasons people use language like what you were sharing, Pam, is because they don't know. They just don't know. They're ill-informed, and they're just using what they heard and what they grew up with. But I think we have it in us to change the language, to change the narrative, to change what's been done to us because, of racism, sexism, and patriarchy and all of that. Yes, that's there, but we can divest from those things and really change the narrative and change how to get the help that we need in our communities. And one way to do that is by getting quality and good information. So NAMI is a good organization that educates. It's all about education.
And I agree with you. And we should probably do more things in the community. And when Rona leaves us alone, I would like for us to come and do something, some kind of seminar and with materials and so forth like that.
And NAMI does that too. They come to different organizations and places to do training about mental health issues. So there's support out there. We're not alone. That's all to say.
That is great. So now, Dula, if somebody wants to come to see you, they would just go to the website, doulaprevalon.com.
Yes, they can go on my website and get all the information. Yep.
Okay. Now, like if somebody, what is it called? An EAP trail?
Yes. Yes.
Employee.
They come to you?
It's employee assistance program directly through your employer. Most of them are connected directly to it, and you can find the EAP provider that usually you get so many visits, and then you find a provider that actually can still see you after the EAP is completed, and you can continue on your services if you needed to.
Okay, and doula, is that something they can get to you through a EAP?
So what the Cottrell was saying, that the EAP contracts with different counselors, and I'm not one of the contracted counselors with the EAP, but they can call me and they can connect with me, and if I can't help, I'll definitely give them a referral.
Okay, all right. And then too, I know that when it comes to counseling, people like to go to people that look like them.
Yeah.
So do we have a way for Black males to find Black males? Like for my son Blade, I had a medical incident that, we're literally, I was almost dying. And so he needed some counseling after that, because he had to face my mortality. And we found a great African male counselor for him that specializes in boys. But like for Cottrell or other Black men, is there a way that they can get to Black male counselors specifically?
Yeah, I mean, they depending on the organization, depending on the private practice, Black male therapists are kind of like unicorns though, but you can go on blackmaletherapy.com. I think there's something, a national database of Black male therapists in your area where you can find a Black male therapist, or even for Black women therapists, there's Black therapist something. If you do a Google search, you can find Black male or Black women therapists in your area.
I know when I looked it up, I looked it through my insurance, and my insurance let me specify Black Christian location, all of that, to find exactly what I was looking for, and they gave me a list of them. Through my insurance,
because I know I would feel comfortable, and with things the way they are today, I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The person I go to has to be Black.
Yeah, and that's needed, and I think for most therapists, they understand that, because we do know the work of therapy when you come into the office, to be able to relate right away to your client is definitely something that is of importance. So we get that. I get that.
Okay.
So
all right. And Trell, I got yours back now. If you want to book the incomparable Cottrell Russell, www.cottrellrussell.com. You want a t-shirt, a nice t-shirt, you can go to www.peculiarcustom.com or www.churchybox.com.
Yes.
Again,
she's having so much fun in that, right? It's funny.
Yes. But this has been great. This has been amazing. Thank you both for supporting when I asked the call and the vision. I appreciate you. And I've run their information. If you didn't get it, just send an email to info@collectiveactivism.com and I will get you to Cottrell or doula. So it has been wonderful. Thank you both. It's been a pleasure. So you all have a wonderful evening. Yeah, I'm getting ready to move, and somebody's bought my refrigerator, so they're going to come pick it up tonight. I got to go empty it.
All right, you go. Thank you for having me on here.
Thank you all for coming. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Okay, you too.